Hey everyone, this is Laura Gadenik with Laura Gadenik Astrology. I'm here to give you the astrology for the weeks of June 9th through the 22nd, 2025. And I aim to do so from a therapeutic lens. I am working towards my licensure. I'm a clinical social worker, so I always aim to give the astrology with a sense of empowerment and tools and coping mechanisms, as well as highlight the really juicy, yummy, delicious aspects that are coming your way. And today on June 8th, we have a really delicious Mercury-Jupiter conjunction in the sign of Gemini. So today should feel really expansive, optimistic. You might have a lot of plans or a lot of things going on. Gemini is definitely a sign that's known for being a social butterfly, jumping around from event to event. And as today is Pride Day, I mean, maybe it's Pride Month all month, but I know I have a lot of Pride events going on today, so maybe you do too. But additionally, you might have noticed a strong desire to learn, to gather information, to be social and chat with people, and just kind of, like I said, be a social butterfly, jump from event to event, thing to thing, and be around a lot of people. That is very Gemini. Or maybe you've really been craving studying or writing or just learning, gathering data, and you've felt inspired to expand your knowledge base, your mind. Mercury is the planet of the mind, and Jupiter is wisdom or knowledge. So that is today, and then later today, Mercury heads into the sign of Cancer, where Jupiter will shortly join. And so on Monday the 9th, when Mercury just moved into Cancer, so this is tomorrow, Monday the 9th, and Mercury makes a square to Saturn pretty immediately. Saturn is a planet about limitations, but also longevity, commitment, seriousness. And when Saturn meets Mercury in a square, it can feel like maybe you're having some serious conversations come up. Maybe you're having to sort through some difficult topics mentally or in conversation with others. Maybe you're having to kind of like, okay, we had a lot of fun over the last week or two, and now it's time to get to work. So it's kind of this sense of like needing to get stuff done. You might be doing some serious study. I would say the one thing to be mindful of is negative thinking or pessimism. Sometimes Saturn can feel like a downer, and so it's just important to watch where your mind goes and watch the thoughts that come up. You are not your thoughts. And, sometimes our thoughts aren't the most helpful. And so this is, a good time to be aware of what thoughts you're having. If they're negative, where might they be coming from? Whose voice might they remind you of? Are they really your thoughts? Are they a part of you? Using internal family systems language, which is this idea that we are a system of parts. We're not necessarily like one being. We do have a core self, which is innately good and curious and compassionate and creative and all these like really lovely things, but we also have many parts of us. So in the IFS language, just really briefly, internal family systems, it's this idea that we have our parts are our protectors. And we have two types of protectors. We have firefighters and managers. Firefighters, and also additionally, these protectors are protecting the core self from being triggered by the exiles. The exiles are our wounded parts that we often carry with us from childhood, that carry our trauma, our shame, our blame, our guilt, our wounds. And so the protectors are protecting us from feeling this hurt, feeling this pain by two mechanisms. Firefighters put out the pain, and do so through numbing, through dissociating, through self-harm, through binging. They're kind of numbing, right? And then managers protect us by avoiding the pain. So perfectionism, control, avoidance, these are all managers. So anyway, with this framework in mind, with Mercury making a square to Saturn, if there are any negative thoughts that come up or pessimism, I would encourage you to ask yourself, maybe, whose voice is this? Does this remind me of anyone else, right? Is this a part? Is this a part that's protecting me from something? If so, from what? Just practicing some general self-awareness, self-knowledge, and recognizing that this aspect also will come and it will go. And so if you are feeling that kind of negativity, it'll pass, but it's a good chance to practice mindfulness and curiosity as well. Also, for those of you who have ADHD, which I know there's a lot of us out there, people who have ADHD also can struggle from rejection sensitive dysphoria, which is this notion where you kind of like sense rejection in places where it's not actually happening, but it's still your lived experience. You still feel like you're being rejected. And so, Mercury square Saturn can bring up that sense of feeling rejected. So be tender with yourself if that's coming up for you, and hold that part of you that feels rejected if that comes up. So lots of stuff with this Mercury square Saturn. Mercury squares Neptune on the same day because Saturn and Neptune are in a conjunction, or almost in a conjunction, in Aries. So this can also be like, Neptune can be a bit nebulous and confusing and kind of like all over the place. Mercury Neptune can be like this feeling of like, what am I doing? Where am I going? It can be mismatched conversations, miscommunications. It can feel a little bit like a Mercury retrograde, where things feel foggy. And so one thing about Saturn clarifies and solidifies, whereas Neptune disperses and makes kind of more murky. So with Mercury square Saturn and Neptune on this day, it could be that confusing situations become clarified and something comes to more solidity. It could also be a time where you're really working towards making an ideal a reality. Neptune represents the ideal, the vision, the dream. Saturn is reality, making things solid and stable and thinking about the long term. So this could also be a time where you're making plans and thinking and brainstorming and outlining to make something real. And, starting to outline the steps or making the grand plan for this vision. So it actually could be kind of helpful as well. Okay. Jupiter also enters Cancer on this day, on Monday the 9th. It's a really big day. This is a huge deal. Jupiter in Cancer is amazing. And Jupiter will be in Cancer for about a year. And this is amazing because we all just went through a really big struggle this last year with Mars having retrograded in Cancer for several months. So this might have looked like strife in home, in family. Maybe a family member was really struggling. Maybe there were issues with your literal home. And also thinking about, Cancer represents mothers as well, and children and people who are more vulnerable, who have less power. And so, our sense of security is Cancer. And, this last year we had a lot of programs defunded and a lot of our basic sense of security taken away. And so I have some hope that with Jupiter entering Cancer for this year, some of those things might be restored potentially. And our sense of security might be being regained. So I think it'll be just a healing balm over Cancerian themes. And additionally, of course, we have to look at the house that Cancer rules in your birth chart, and those themes will be getting a huge boost, a huge sense of expansion, growth, and healing where there may have been conflict, rifts, or struggles. So that's going to be very, very exciting. Also, on Monday the 9th, Venus in Taurus makes a square to Pluto in Aquarius. You might have been feeling this for the last couple days since Venus moved into Taurus just a couple days ago. Venus is love, relationship, beauty, connection, sex. Pluto is about going to the depths, going to the bottom, getting to the root of something. So this feels like going deep in relationships, uncovering the root of problems, if there have been any, or uncovering the root of conflicts. There might be more erotic exchanges happening in your life right now, potentially, because Venus is sex and eros, and Pluto is also like very much so connected to sex and eros. So more erotic exchanges. Also deep art, doing art that feels meaningful, that's connected to some sort of purpose or deeper meaning, or something related to justice. Venus is the goddess of justice and peace and harmony, and Pluto is also a planet that represents power and, like maybe ways that people wield power unjustly. And so this could even look like activist art or something like that. Okay. Wednesday the 11th, we have a full moon in Sagittarius. This is highlighting your Sagittarius house in your birth chart. So something in that part of your life might be coming to full light. There might be new awarenesses, or something's highlighted in that part of your life. On the same day, Mercury in Cancer makes a sextile to Venus in Taurus. This is really lovely. Mercury is the mind, conversations. Venus, once again, connection, relationship, beauty. So this looks like sweet words being exchanged, maybe good night for songs or poetry, or reading stories, or writing, or creative writing, getting creative with your mind, and also telling people who you love that you love them, and being vulnerable and sweet. It's a really great day for that. Business ventures might also be benefited by this aspect, as Mercury does represent business and commerce. On Sunday the 15th, things get a little bit spicier. We have Mars and Leo making a square to Uranus and Taurus. Mars is a planet about action and conflict, but go, go, go. Uranus is changes, 180 turns of events, doing things differently. So this energy looks like potentially a breakthrough, doing something differently, doing something that's outside of the norm, but also looking out for erratic energy, impulsiveness, nervous energy. This could be a day where you're kind of feeling a little bit all over the place. So it's a great day to do some grounding, breathing, yoga, literally sitting on the ground and feeling how it feels to be in the grass. Some mindfulness, some, scanning your body, noticing where you might be holding tension. It's just kind of erratic energy. But it also could be the very thing that you need to spur you into action to change something. So it can also be that. We also have Jupiter in Cancer making a square to Saturn in Aries. This is the third square out of a series that's been kind of ongoing for like the last year-ish. The first one, I believe, a little less than a year. The first one was like last August of 2024. I don't have the full cycle of that like in front of me right now, but I'll just say that Jupiter is a planet about expansion and Saturn is a planet about contraction. So when these two planets come together in a square aspect, it looks like working towards careful and slow growth. Once again, Jupiter is about growth. Saturn is about making sure that you got all your ducks in a row. You got all your T's crossed and I's dotted, right? So it could also look like something that's opportunistic, or something that you're moving towards might be withheld, or kind of it's maybe not working out at first, or maybe you're needing to read the fine print on something, make sure that you have everything settled, and maybe it's like kind of like, oh, there's this opportunity coming your way, or this expansive opportunity, like growth opportunity, but it's like not quite yet, right? Like maybe we wait a month or two before we do this sort of thing. And then, like Jupiter is going to be in a square with Saturn for the rest of the month, pretty much. So it might feel like this contraction energy a little bit more. And then after that, it's like growth, 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 because Jupiter's in Cancer and is away from the square with Saturn. So, but it really does feel kind of like a time for careful planning. Like you're wanting to grow and expand in some area of life, namely the Cancer part of your chart. And it just requires like being careful and methodical and thinking ahead and making a plan sort of vibe. So on Tuesday the 17th, Mars heads into Virgo, bringing energy and action and potentially some conflict into your Virgo house. And yeah, it'll be there for about 6 weeks or so. But it's really, Mars spurs us to do things, to take action. So it's kind of like, okay, it's time to go. It's time to initiate or do or change something in your Virgo house. Wednesday the 18th, Jupiter in Cancer makes a square to Neptune in Aries. So once again, there's that Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries going on that planets in Cancer are aspecting. And so Jupiter and Neptune feels like working towards a really expansive dream or vision or ideal. These are two very expansive planets. Neptune is very dispersing and dreamy and like mystical, and Jupiter is expansive and has a lot of faith, and like Jupiter has a ton of resources in the sign of Cancer. This could feel like having a greater spiritual connection, a sense of openness or faith or trust in expansion and in the universe, and just trusting that things will work out, or having the right resources for things to work out. So I think that'll be really nice. And then there's that Saturn there to kind of ground us and like in reality and kind of like, okay, yeah, we can expand and grow and work towards this dream, and we have to do it this way. We have to follow the rules. Okay, and then finally, almost done with this segment. The sun heads into Cancer on Friday the 20th. Cancer season begins, and once again, your Cancer house is like extra highlighted because at this point we'll have the sun, Mercury, and Jupiter all in Cancer. And Cancer is it's a yin water sign. It's much different energy than busy, buzzing Gemini air sign. Gemini is very extroverted. It's a masculine oriented sign, or maybe I should say yang, just more outward directed, more social, more extroverted. Cancer is so much more yin, like home vibes, more like introverted, calming energy. And so with Mercury, the Sun, and Jupiter all in Cancer, not only are those themes going to be majorly highlighted for you, your Cancer house, but also just like more homey, introverted vibes. So I think that'll be really nice. Sunday the 22nd, Mars in Virgo makes a sextile to Jupiter in Cancer. This feels like confident action is taken with good outcomes. This feels like there's a sense of expecting good things and feeling open to taking a risk or like making a change, and acting not from a place of scarcity or fear, but from a place of abundance and faith that things will work out. So that'll be really nice. And then also on Sunday the 22nd, the sun in Cancer makes a square to Saturn, which could feel a little bit like a damper, right? Kind of similar to that Mercury square Saturn energy that we started this 2-week segment out with that kind of like potential for negative thinking or feeling kind of like pessimistic. That is possible also for the sun square Saturn, but it could also just be this sense of duty, this sense of like needing or wanting to get things done or work towards long-term goals. And once again, with the sun hitting the square with Saturn, it's going to pretty much immediately hit a square with Neptune like the next day. And so it's really this energy of like, okay, let's work towards our goals and our dreams and let's get it done. So, all right. So that is the astrology for the next couple of weeks. Please reach out if you're interested in a reading. I do private readings, and you can see where this astrology is like more specifically coming out in your life, what season of life that you're in, how it's impacting you. And I do my readings. I'm a social worker, so I'm very much concerned with justice and, like fairness. And so I do my readings on a sliding scale basis. So, I give like a range of like $100 to $200 for a reading, $250 depending on the reading. So please reach out if you're interested in a reading. Please consider donating. My Venmo is at Laura-Godenick. If you have the means to, I do put a lot of effort and energy into making these videos. So that would be greatly appreciated. And otherwise, I will be back in a couple weeks with another astrological update. And I hope you have a lovely Pride and wonderful couple of weeks. Take care. Bye.